Okay, so for this week's guitar lesson, we're going to be learning how to improvise a lead over a minor key jam track that's played with just one acoustic guitar. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But we're going to be doing everything this week on one string, our high E string. For every note we're going to play is going to come out of that one string. Now, why would you do that? Why would you limit yourself to one string? Well, it accomplishes a lot of things when you do that. It really forces you to use your ear. It's a lot more similar to singing, in fact. When you're singing, you don't have visual patterns. Some of these things that we start to rely on as we're learning how to improvise. I mean, I'm just as guilty of this as anyone, but a lot of improvising, at least on the fretboard, is visual. You're sort of seeing these little patterns and shapes and stuff, and I love that stuff too. But that's not improvising. In a way, improvising is really just sounds. You have to hear these sounds. You have to be able to hear a pentatonic scale properly before just playing it. Otherwise, you're just going up and down some memorized thing. But when you can hear the scale and know the feeling that the scale gives you, it's a whole different level. And so that's true of scales, arpeggios, chords. And so by playing in a linear fashion on one string, it's going to limit the options. So we're not thinking visually anymore. We're not even thinking about note names. We're hearing these intervals. We're going to feel them, physically feel them with our finger up and down the fretboard, but we're going to feel them internally as well. So it's going to give you a different vibe. I think you're going to like this. In this video, we're going to go through everything that I played in the intro. I'm going to show you how to play it. I'll put the tab up on the screen. We're going to talk it all through. I've also created a breakdown of the rhythm. So for those of you that are interested in that acoustic rhythm, finger percussive style rhythm, I've got that tabbed out note for note. And I've also made a video explaining kind of what's going on. So those are extra materials. I've also got the tablature for this entire thing, everything we're going to talk through. You can get as a tab PDF file, on-screen tab viewer, and you can also get the jam track so that you can practice playing everything. So if you like those extra materials for this lesson, and I hope you do, I hope you will, you can get all of those by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP579. All right, linear, one string. So the string we're going to be playing on is our E string. So for those of you that only have one string on your guitar, you're in luck. This is your week. I hope there's not many of you, but anyway. So we're going to be looking at from this E note, this open E note, all the way up to the 12th fret. That's a full octave. Now, these 12 notes are everything in Western music. Everything that you've ever liked, every song, every style, every genre, every scale, every chord, it all comes from those 12 notes. It's a combination of those, playing different ones in different orders, but that's it. Those 12 notes are it. And I know that's kind of obvious. I mean, most of us know that, but sometimes it's kind of nice to be reminded of that. I like that myself. When I realized that everything comes from those 12 notes, it's kind of like, it's sort of refreshing. It's like, well, it's not like millions of options. It's just those 12 notes, which is cool. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be playing, this is a minor key jam track. So the first thing I want to show you is the minor pentatonic scale on this high E string. And it's very easy to play. There is a pattern here, even though I'm trying not to think about patterns. There are some of that. So you have your open E string, and then we're going to come up to the 3rd fret. We're going to go 3, 5, 7. So then we're going to skip all the way up to the 10th fret. So there's a big jump there between the 7th and the 10th. And then that's it. Those are the 5 notes of your pentatonic. Penta means 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your scale. And then you come up to the 12th fret if you want. That's just repeating now what we started, right? Because now you're an octave higher and you keep going. So that's your minor pentatonic scale. All the talk and the lesson material and the music that's been created from the minor pentatonic scale, the blues, it's in everything. People have made multi-million-dollar careers playing this scale. That's it. I mean, think about that for a minute. That's pretty powerful. I mean, yes, you can play it in lots of different patterns and positions up and down the fretboard, but it really is those notes. Now, the reason I'm doing this on this one string is we're going to put on a jam track here in a minute, and I want to just use those notes to start to improvise. It feels different than if I were to play it in one of our patterns, like pattern 1 here. And part of that is because you can't move as quickly through it, so you kind of want to linger on notes a little longer, and just kind of, your approach will be different. Let me get a jam track going and we'll talk this through. Okay, so I've got the jam track that's playing. It's just going to continue to loop. And I'm going to take those 5 notes of that minor pentatonic scale for E, and I'm going to play those against the jam track. Now, any of these notes in any order and any timing is going to work. Those are all safe notes. And what I like about playing linear like this is it forces me to kind of hang out on notes maybe longer than I normally would, and listen to how that note reacts with both chords. My ear kind of pulled me back to that E note. So even just taking these 3 notes, look at this. Little subtle bends and sliding into notes. Little pull-offs, hammer-ons and pull-offs. Now this is all just using 3 notes. Look at that. So that's a timing thing. Triple it, but listen to how that... Now I just went up now to that 7th fret, still in the minor pentatonic scale, nothing new here, but by sliding into these notes, like that, or pull-offs, you get a much kind of a bluesier vibe. Now I realize that one note, it would be like your blue note, so that's one of the reasons for that. But I'm not thinking of it that way. I'm just thinking of it as sliding into the note. Okay, so that's our minor pentatonic scale. We can already start to sing with our fingers. Okay, let's add a few parameters. We're going to add 2 notes to this to make this a full proper scale, a 7-note scale. We could just get by with that minor pentatonic scale, that'd be fine, but check this out. What I like to do is I don't like to get involved in try and figure out what scale is going to match. We're just going to use our ear to tell us. So check this out. We know that note sounds good, right? Listen to this. Sounds terrible. That's not a good option. So we know that note works. It's in our minor pentatonic. Ooh, now that note is not in our minor pentatonic, but it works. In fact, it works over both of those chords. So we have, so I'm gonna add that 9th fret. Well, I'm just gonna make a mental note, 9th fret for a string. That's one of our extra notes. Let's keep going down. Terrible. That's in our minor pentatonic. No, bad. That's in our minor pentatonic. No. That's in our minor pentatonic. Ooh, that one works, right? So the 2nd fret works as well. So that 9th fret and the 2nd fret, those are 2 extra notes we can add. 1st fret, not so much. And then our open, we're down to our open. So I just went through all 12 notes and I found 2 more notes that work really well over this jam track. There's the 9th fret, and there's the 2nd fret. Now, my ear is going to tell me how long I can hang out on those extra notes, or if I can, or if I should move to another one. There's the 2nd fret. So it works over both, but it kind of wants to resolve to something else. But that's just a taste thing. It's just to my ear. So now we've added these 2 extra notes. What did we just create? Well, I know after thinking about it after the fact that I created Dorian mode. So we're playing E Dorian mode when we're doing this. Now, you don't have to sit and try and figure that out beforehand. I just used my ear to kind of feel my way through these intervals. And I don't have to be, super, go through it, that way, super, I don't know, inefficient like that. What I like to do is just kind of feel my way around, starting with the minor pentatonic scale, which I know is going to work, and then I'm going to kind of see which notes kind of work with that. And depending on which notes I choose, I'll be playing different scales, different modes. So let me show you this technique. Now this is something I think of like Jimi Hendrix. I've seen he does that quite a bit. But it's this hammer-on pull-off slide move. And what that's doing is it's walking down the scale. So you start with one note, you do a hammer-on to the next note up in your scale, and then a pull-off. No big deal there. But then a slide after that pull-off. That slide goes to the next note that works. So in this case, it'd be the next note in this Dorian mode that we've just discovered. So it goes like this. Sorry, I screwed that up. Now from here, I'll do it down to the next one. And you can see, you just follow that pattern. But what that allows me to do, for me anyway, it allows me to really get familiar with the parameters of this scale. Or you can go like this, we'll just pick it once. Even with an acoustic guitar, I'm able to sustain that note. It's not as great that time. Like that, and so there's enough movement there that's allowing the note to sustain. If you're playing an electric guitar, you can totally do that. But that's the technique, is a hammer-on pull-off slide. And you're just, each time you're hammering on, you're going up to the next note in the scale, and each time you slide, you're going down to the next note down in the scale. That's all that is. But that's a technique I wanted to just mention that I see a lot of guitar players using, and it's taking advantage of this linear movement that you can really only do in a linear fashion. So now that we have all of that sort of talk out of the way, we can start to make music with this, and so that's what we're going to talk through next. This is a little intro bit that I played. All right, so now let's go back and talk about that first phrase that I played, and then we'll tab it out and break it down. All right, so this first thing that's happening is really happening between the 3rd fret and the 5th fret and the open string. It's really all 3, 5 open. So it comes in on the 3, it's 1 and 2 and 3. So I did a hammer on with some vibrato, and then we go back to 3 and then back to 5. Nothing big there, right? But it's like sort of when you come in, you don't want to be robotic and come in right on the 1. I mean, you can, but it's like, how would you sing this? Always be thinking like you're singing. And when you're singing, you don't have a scale in front of you. You don't have you're not thinking note names. It's like, what is it? What is the vibe? What's the feeling you got? So to me, that's what's going on here with your fingers. 1 and 2 and. And then it goes. So after this, we go 3, 5, and then a slide. So that goes 6 to the 7th fret. Now I know that 6th fret is not in our minor pentatonic scale, but it's just a nice little slide. And you could do that with any of these notes. Then we go back to 3, 5, 3, open. So now that to me is a call and response. It's this little phrase. It's even without the jam track, it's the first phrase was the call, the second was the response to that. To me, it sounds like that. It sounds like a singer. All right, so for this next little part, we're going to stay using the same notes. It's 1 and 2 and. Little different that time. We go to the 5th fret, 3rd, and then we hit the open string twice. Because I'm like kind of repeating phrases. Now this is not something you sit and map out. It's just something that you kind of feel. When somebody's singing, they tend to, with lyrics, there tends to be is a lot of repetition, and it never be afraid to repeat yourself when you're playing lead. That's huge in improvising. In fact, people like it. The listener loves it because we already heard that the first time. So the second time, same thing, but a little twist on it. You could even go little, nuances, but it's saying the same thing, right? And then the response to that was same notes. So open 3, 5, a slide up to the 7th, and then a slide back to the 5th. How cool is that? I think I might have done a pull-off when I played it. You can either pull it off or slide, it's the same effect. Back to 3, and then you go open, 3, open. And notice when I'm hitting that 3rd fret, I'm pushing it sharp a little bit. It's because that happens in the blues. You go from the flat 3rd to the major 3rd. It happens all the time. And you can do that here, obviously, with a 1-string scale like this. See how it's kind of pulling you? It almost feels like it's unresolved. It's just another little idea, but it's that 3rd interval that makes that happen. So now we're going to keep with the same sort of timing and cadence and feel, but now we're going to come up and play. So what I'm doing, obviously 12th fret 1st string, kind of a B.B. King move. He would do that a lot. Just come up to the octave and slide down. And then I like this, and this will be a nice little takeaway. So what we're doing is we're going down to the 10th fret, which is in our minor pentatonic scale, and then this 9th fret, which was one of our extra notes. Remember we talked about that would be one of our Dorian notes. But you hit that note. Okay, so you hit the 10th fret, and then you go to the 9th fret, and then you bend up to the note you just played. So anytime you've got, in a scale where you've got one note that's just 1 fret away, or just a half step away, that's an awesome little simple move to just play the note and then go to that next note and bend to the note you just played and then release it. It's a really powerful effect. So after this bend, I actually came down to the 7th fret. And then watch this. I just switched my hand in position. So now I'm lining up over the 7th fret with my ring finger. So I can go. That's that same little technique I talked about, the hammer-on, pull-off, slide. And then, so then we go 5, 3, open. And then I just went open, 3, open. So now we're going to repeat again. We're going to come back to the B.B. King lick. And then a little lick like that. Now that's still minor pentatonic scale, but I just came up to the next note. I realized I kind of got out of my 12 fret limit there, but I came up to the 15th fret and did a pull off. So after the lick, then I did the hammer-on pull-off slide lick all the way down the fretboard. So all the way down, just right down that scale, basically. And it started between the 12th fret and the 10th fret on the first string. I'll put the tab up on the screen so you can follow it, but it's something like that. All right, so now the song goes to the second part, the B part, and it goes from the A minor to an E minor. So we're still in the key of E. We've just now switched the chords around a little bit. So we go for this A minor 7. to the E minor. But I can still stay in this E minor pentatonic scale because I'm staying in the key of the song. So what I ended up playing over that, that's the first part. Open 3, slide up to the 5th fret. And then we go back to the 3rd with a little bend, or a partial bend there. And why did I come to this note? Well, I knew it was A minor, and so I was just picturing the A minor chord here using that E minor shape. So I hit that A note, you know. But any of the notes would have worked. But I kind of, that's probably the only note I actually thought about in the whole thing. And then we go back. And then I went this triplet, a series of triplets. So it's just walking up, open 3, 5, and then up to the 7th fret. And I slid into that, like, you know, triplet, 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 triplets like that. And that's another thing to think about is your timing. You don't want to always just play on the beat, da, 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 da. You want to kind of throw in some swagger and some swing every now and then. And those triplets can really add a lot to the sound. And then I went back to those same notes. Just different plays on those same notes. So open 3, 5, slide to the 5. Just by hitting the 5, if I hit the 5 twice like this, that's kind of lame, kind of flat, versus a slide into it. Now that sounds a little more soulful. And then that's that hammer on pull off slide technique. And then we slide it down. And then back to 5, back to 3. And then the last 2 chords, the song goes to an F sharp 7. And all of this is covered in that part 2 video. But anyway, it goes to F sharp 7 and then the B 7, which is our 5 chord, which pulls us back to the 1 chord, which is our minor, E minor. So what did I play over the F sharp 7 and the B 7? I played the F sharp note. Remember I said that we added 2 notes in a minute ago. We added the 9th fret and the 2nd fret. Well, I just played that note because the chord is an F sharp, so I might as well just hit the F sharp note. And that's how I played it. And then I did a hammer on pull off. Let's see, pull off and then another pull off, which is kind of weird. And then back to that same note, which works over the B 7 chord as well, because that note's in that. And then you can repeat yourself. Now, obviously, I don't mean for this to be like, okay, you're trying to get everything that I'm playing note for note and memorize. I mean, maybe some of that happens in the beginning just to kind of get the feel for how it works. But I want you to be able to take that jam track and take these ideas and these concepts, even these little flourishes and runs and things that you know how to do now. The triplets coming in on the 3. It's all of these things sort of that, and then the call and response bit. Like, what can you do with this scale? You know the notes of them now, and there's just one string. So I'm taking things out of the way that trip you up. A lot of times we go, I can't remember the patterns, or I can't remember what are the notes in this scale. You're not worrying about any of that. You're just thinking about. You're actually just using your ear. And here's another last little thing, and then I'll end this, is try doing it without looking at anything. You can definitely feel your way through it. You can feel which notes to kind of bend. You can feel your way through it without looking at it. I mean, that's saying it all. That's singing. When you can just feel it. And so try feeling those intervals and see what you can get. All right, we'll see you in part 2 where we'll go over the rhythm for those of you that are interested in learning how to play that percussive rhythm. And if you have a question or comment, I always like to end these videos. Leave a question or comment. I always appreciate them. It helps me kind of know what's working, what isn't, and it also helps me if you have questions and you want to know anything in particular. That helps me know what's confusing or whatever. And so I'll try and answer them all. I read all of them. So anyway, we'll see you in the next video.